Principles of Crime Prevention, Reduction and Control, CMY 2602. Okay, we're going to be doing Learning Unit 7 today. Learning Unit 7. Let's move to Learning Unit 7. Let's move to Learning Unit 7, which is on page 63. Okay. Okay, we're moving there quickly. We are there. Okay. Okay, today we are doing Learning Unit 7, which is housebreaking or burglary. Okay, there are the contents. Hey, Escom. Pomagit. Introduction is there, key concept. Yeah. Here's the contents. Okay, let's start. Let's get moving. We've seen the contents. Okay, we're gonna start now with the learning outcomes. Learning outcomes. After the completion of this learning unit, you should be able to define and be conversant with the terms housebreaking, burglary. Housebreaking and burglary. Identify with the general characteristics of housebreaking or burglary. Understand the process of selecting targets. Appreciate the motives of housebreaking, burglary. Assessment criteria. After completing this learning unit, you should be able to answer diverse multiple choice and paragraph type questions in order to demonstrate your understanding, knowledge of, and insight into the study material. Introduction. Housebreaking and home robbery are the most feared types of crime in South Africa, according to 2016 Victims of Crime Survey. Data shows that households in the Northwest, Mpumalanga, and the Eastern Cape were the least likely to report incidents of housebreaking, while the Western Cape and the Free State were most likely to report such incidents to the police. Housebreaking is regarded as a serious crime in South Africa. As a result of the high incident, offenders receive relatively severe penalties when convicted by the courts. In this learning unit, we will define the term burglary, give an exposition of the general characteristics of burglary, and explain the process of selecting targets. We will also briefly mention the motives for burglary. Key concepts. Kemp et al. 2012-395 define housebreaking with the intent to commit a crime as unlawful and intentionally breaking into and entering a building or structure with intention of committing some crime in it. Conklin, 2013, page 375, defines burglary as the unlawful entry into a building to commit a serious crime, usually the theft of property. Conklin states further that a burglary might turn into a robbery if the burglar confronts the occupants of the building and uses force to steal. But most burglary involves no such information. Note, terms burglary and housebreaking are often used interchangeably. Housebreaking burglary general characteristics. Few burglars commit their crimes primarily for excitement, but some mention is that a secondary reward. For most burglars, money is the primary motivation factor. One study found that residential burglars respond to both the amount and probability of illicit gain and the amount and probability of arrest and punishment. Perceptions of financial reward influence the decision of commit burglary more than perception of risk of punishment. That is Conklin, and then page 204. Again, Conklin on the same page states further that approximately two-thirds of burglaries occur at residential homes. Residential burglaries take place both over weekends and during weekdays, while businesses are usually burglared at night. Excuse me. Burglary can be regarded as a passive crime since the offender selects a time and place that minimize the possibility of contact with a victim. Of all types of crimes, burglary offers the greatest possibility of success with the least risk. No weapon is required, and the offenders avoid contact with the victim because they do not want to be identified, although the use of violence in robberies in South Africa is becoming an alarming trend. Juveniles are inclined to commit burglaries during the day, especially between 3 and 6. Female burglars follow a pattern and usually commit burglaries between 10 and 11 and 1 and 3. Baton, 1995, page 324. Experienced burglars often gain access via sliding doors, as it is possible to use a crowbar or a screwdriver to lift his type of door off its track. Access is quick and silent. Another means of gaining access is to break a window pane silently and to crawl through the open window. Many burglars are under the influence of alcohol when they commit crimes, as they need alcohol to reduce their level of anxiety and fear prior to the burglary. Most burglars report a moderate intake of alcohol prior to a burglary. Research has shown that more than half the burglars who were arrested had accomplices. Studies have indicated that almost two-thirds of the identified burglars had worked in groups of two or more. Very few offenders collaborated with more than three accomplices. Young offenders and women use accomplices more than older males. Newbern 2008 page 461 states that burglary rates tend to be highest where the burglars live, and that there are considerable evidence to suggest that offenders do not travel great distance to commit offenses. Excuse me? Amateur burglars steal money or personal items for their own needs, whereas professional burglars steal items with high resale value, such as electronic equipment, jewelry, and fur coats. Professional burglars usually have access to a fence, a component in the professional burglar cycle. They knowingly buy stolen goods from a burglar with a view to resale. Buttons 1995 page 324. However, burglars often sell their stolen goods at pawn shop friends and acquaintances, while others exchange their wares with strangers. Hence, they do not necessarily use the services of a fence. Professional or career burglars who display high technical skills in their occupation have a reputation for personal integrity, are inclined to specialized, e.g., safe cracking, are successful in their work because they manage to avoid being arrested, and are held in high esteem by other burglars. Barlow 1989 page 215. Selection of targets. Me and Taylor in Barton's 1995 page 324 to 325 identify four broad categories of indicators used by burglars. Occupancy. Some signs which show that a house is occupied include posts which have been delivered, parked vehicles, blinds and curtains are being opened and closed, and lights are being turned on and off. Affluence. The appearance of a house, its surroundings, the quality of landscaping, visible furniture as well as type of vehicles parked outside provide the burglar with an indication as to the world of the occupants. Layout of the house. The layout of the house provides a burglar with cues as to how difficult or easy it will be to reach the house. Security. Burglars also note the presence of security measures such as fences, palisades, alarm system, burglar proofing, security gates, window locks and door locks. In addition to the above, Walker et al. In New Bern 2008, page 461, are of the opinion that there are various characteristics associated with elevated burglary risk, namely, households without security measures are 10 times more likely to be burglared as houses in which measures such as deadlocks on doors and windows lock have been installed. Households in owner-occupied properties have a much lower risk of victimization than those in other tenure types of such as renting. Households that are left unoccupied for 5 hours or more per day are significantly more likely to be burglared than those unoccupied for short lengths of time. Households with higher income are more likely to experience burglary than those with lower income. Households in areas where perceived physical disorder in high are more likely to be victims of burglary than those in lower level area. According to Conklin 2013, page 204 to 205, almost all burglaries are planned carefully in advance. Very few burglaries take place impulsively or on the spur of the moment. It is also clear that there is a seldom of constant or irresistible urge among burglars to commit this type of crime. In contrast, say certain types of arson and shoplifting. Burglary is, therefore, a more rational type of crime, with opportunity being the factor that most commonly leads to particular premises experiencing a burglary. Burglary takes two important aspects into account when selecting a target, namely surveillance and occupants. In terms of surveillance, attention is paid to the accessibility of the house or premises, the proximity of neighbors, and whether or not the burglar can observe the house. The burglar can observe the house. Burglars take particular note of the accessibility of the rear of the house. Another aspect is whether the house is occupied, as indicated by lawns being mowed, mail collected, parked cars at the house, and so forth. Continual occupation of the house acts as a deterrent to burglars. Barton 1995, page 324. Burglars take the vulnerability of potential victims into account when selecting their targets. Supermarkets, for example, are regarded as easy targets, while exclusive male clothing stores are not. Burglars exploit situations that present themselves or look for burglary opportunities. Burglars also attempt to minimize the possibility of being arrested, therefore prefer targets that cannot easily be observed by passers-by, neighbors, the police, or neighborhood watch patrol. Activity 7.1. Assume that you are going to address the local community policing forum in your neighborhood at their next scheduled meeting on the prevention of residential burglaries. In order to prepare for this presentation and based on what you have learned in the learning unit, observe the extent for which property owners are protecting their premises or not in your neighborhood or community and prepare a visual presentation based on your observation. Feedback, no specific feedback. Okay. Motives of stealing. The primary motive for professional burglars is financial gain. If a burglary is conducted efficiently, there is little risk of being arrested and the profits are substantial. But 1995, page 328. Many professional burglars see the crime as a challenge to their skill, which need to be constantly developed and refined. Some burglars get very excited when planning the crime and also when committing the burglary. Many burglars attempt to supplement their burglary income in order to improve the quality of their lives. The extra income may also be used for parties and or buy alcohol, drugs, or expensive items. Professional burglars are motivated primarily by money, but also by a sense of self-satisfaction and accomplishment. Although tangible rewards are important, internal reinforcement is a powerful motivation and regulating factor. Conlink 2013, page 204. Summary. In this learning unit, we focused on burglary. We defined the term burglary, look at the general characteristics of burglary, and then at how burglars select their targets. In the last section, we briefly mentioned the motives of burglary. Okay, and we have the assessment. And then we're going to be doing these questions on the side. Okay, we are finished with our study unit for now. Dango.